All new cars in the European Union could have speed limiters and breathalyzers as of 2022. Slightly inaccurate, since
Oh, go figure.
the speed limiters will be mandatory, and it's just facilitation of the installation of breathalyzers that will be mandatory.
Oh, go figure. A quote unquote news publication twisted the title to be clickbait.
Nevertheless, I do want to make a statement, and this is an official Spanish Liberals Association statement. What if we just ignore Brussels? And I mean, just forget it's there. We just cancel all the planes, close all the roads. It's not there. Nobody remembers Brussels. New capital of Belgium is now Ghent, because I like that. It's a nice city. It's beautiful, and Rembo lives there, and we no longer do anything with it. Just let it exist by itself. We
Hey,
forget
there's
it exists.
great people in Brussels. There's some very good hip hop coming out of Brussels.
Yep.
Okay. We tactically extract them with helicopters, and then we forget it. We
tactically extract them.
Tipex. We put Tipex on top on all of the maps. Brussels never existed. That's my solution.
What if we just surgically remove the EU Parliament?
Censored sprouts.
No, gentlemen. What we need to do is we need to build a wall around Brussels.
and make the EU pay for it.
The French, not the EU, because that's my taxes. Fuck that.
All right, I'm gonna start reading the article real quick.
Yeah.
The European Union has agreed on new rules stating that all cars built after May 2022 and sold in the European Union will have built-in speed limiters as well as breathalyzers that won't allow driving if the driver is intoxicated. The European Parliament is expected to ratify the new regulations in September. The UK, which may not be part of the European Union by then, will nevertheless adopt the new rules as well.
Why?
Because it's their government making that decision, and their government is completely fucking removed from any sense of what at least 50% of their country actually wants.
Jesus.
May I point out something that was in the sentence? Is expected to ratify. The Parliament is expected to ratify. It's no longer a question. They know it's going to be passed because the Parliament is a rubber stamp. Usually this is going to be debated, this is going to be voted on, this is going... No. The Parliament is expected to ratify it. They know it's going to pass. Fuck this.
Mm-hmm.
If you want, we can jump right into the actual source material.
Sure.
Why not?
I'll just repost the link.
Talking about Europe
so you
on the
can easily
move?
find it. I reposted the link.
Concilium.europa.
Yep. EU beefs up requirements for car safety. So this is a press release from the European Council and the Council of the European Union, which are two separate bodies. One is basically the presidency, and one is composed of the leaders of the member states. I'm not sure which is which because I always switch them up, but they are two distinct entities. Oh, here. The Council, the European Council, is the EU institution that defines the general political direction and priorities of the EU. It consists of the heads of states or governments of the member states, together with its president and the president of the Commission. Then you have the Council of the EU, that is the institution representing the member states' governments, also known informally as the EU Council, because that doesn't fuck with the fact that there's already a European Council at all.
Yeah, that just sounds like English. You can't because it's bullshit.
No, to translate that to English, it says more posts for more.
Yep.
On
more posts for more people.
And more unelected organisms, and they are actually not separate things because they are all friends. They're all Eurocrats, and they all are in cahoots with each other, and we cannot get them off our backs.
The EU beefs up requirements for car safety. The EU introduces a new regulation imposing enhanced safety standards for car manufacturers in a bid to significantly reduce the number of road casualties and injuries. False. They want to reduce the number of road casualties and injuries to 0. Member states' ambassadors meeting in the Council's Permanent Representatives Committee today approved a provisional deal reached between the Romanian
Wait,
presidency
the council
and
has
the...
permanent representatives?
Yes, apparently. And the European Parliament on a draft regulation on the general safety of motor vehicles and the protection of vehicle occupants and vulnerable road users. The Romanian Minister for Economy, whose name I will not try to pronounce,
I will.
Nicolae whatever.
Nicolae Badalau.
Well, I don't know if you pronounce it as an A, if it has those two little... Are those two little dots, or is that like a weird little curvy thing?
I was expecting to know it, as I am pretty much Latin, but I have no idea how to pronounce that.
It's a little
V,
curvy thing.
come
It's not
to
even
us.
2 dots.
V, please. V, help us.
So the
Yes.
Romanian Minister for Economy says this new regulation will contribute to the objective of significantly reducing the number of fatalities and severe injuries on EU roads through the measures for
Those
the protection of
ain't EU
vehicle
roads.
occupants. Yeah. It's the roads belong to the European Union now.
You can
Alright,
say
you know
that
what?
they're
I'm just gonna-
Romanian roads or Spanish roads
Or
or
roads of the member states.
yeah.
No, you don't understand. You signed the
roads?
agreement.
You could even say
It's
European
ours.
roads, but whenever the word European gets used, they want you to actually use EU because, they are Europe. So skipping ahead, this regulation updates existing rules on car safety contained in the General Safety Regulation EC 661/2009, the Pedestrian Safety Regulation EC, European Council, that is 78/2009, and the Hydrogen Safety Regulation EC 79/2009. Also, I can't seem to stop mispronouncing regulation.
That's fine.
So many regulations.
10 years after the adoption of the General Safety Regulation, a new regulation will provide...
How many times can this
renewed
fucking
impulse to EU
how many
action
no,
on road
listen,
safety
how many times
and
can
will
we use the word
contribute to
regulation in
achieving the
here?
goal of 0 road fatalities and serious injuries by 2050.
Impossible.
First time,
Oh
it
my God.
addresses the specific concerns of vulnerable road users, in particular pedestrians and cyclists.
How are they going to
Right.
stop road fatalities when there are so many trucks of peace?
I just want to say that all of these regulations are making me want to drink bleach before it's regulated out of existence. To reduce the deaths in the hands of chemicals, they are going to ban bleach soon. I swear this is going to happen.
Soon.
So drink it before it gets banned, Europeans. It's the only way out.
No, I know exactly how they're going to achieve 0 road fatalities. They're going to ban roads.
Yes, and planes, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is a genius. Planes will be banned on roads, and we will again be serfs tied to the land. Honestly, I think the European Union would love that.
Serfs
imagine if
tied
it's
to
best
the land.
Environment. It would be
Man,
best for the
imagine if the
environment.
French were tied to the land.
You
Imagine
can
it.
only have as many serfs as the land can actually support, because
That's great. If the French were tied to the land, they wouldn't go to Paris to protest. They would stay in their villages, being strangled by regulations and taxes on diesel and the Jupiterian presidency of Macron. And it would be glorious. That's the solution to right-wing populism. Serve them.
That's the road to serfdom.
On a more realistic note here for a second, even though you're right, you're being a bit hyperbolic, but you're absolutely correct, Sergio. I don't disagree with anything of what you just said. I can only concur wholeheartedly. But the real issue here is setting their goal of achieving 0 road fatalities.
Impossible.
I mean, exactly. That's impossible. And there are 2 fucking options. Either you are going to grab more and more and more control in the name of getting to that 0, or you're just going to be a fucking hypocrite at some point and not actually try to reach that goal of 0. Set an actual goal that is actually achievable.
They could have said this again with a simple word change. Reduce road fatalities and serious injuries by 2050. That's achievable.
No, but then even then, it's not. I wouldn't agree with that because that's too vague.
True. Okay.
I mean, you would have to give a metric because otherwise you can't see how efficient have our policies been, or because I mean, even if you
Fair.
measure the number of road fatalities, you can't even be sure if it was your policies that did anything to help it, or if your policies actually made the decline of road fatalities go slower than otherwise it would. I mean, those things are very, very complicated. But at least if you set measures for these things, and at least you have a chance of properly measuring it and getting some feedback.
Because logic level 1, reducing road fatalities, probably going to be a net good. Because there's less people that are dying because they're stupid. Or
The question is a cost-benefit analysis.
exactly.
Because I mean,
I don't know if I agree. There's this quote: "Those who trade freedom for safety deserve neither one nor the other." Regulating the
Sergio,
shit out of something in the name of safety really gives me bad vibes. And
I
regulation
understand what you're saying,
strangles
Sergio.
progress. Regulation
I,
strangles progress, and technology is the best thing for reducing roadkill.
yeah, but the thing is,
Just for animals.
the thing is, Sergio, I agree with you, and I agree with you that in most cases the market will provide these things themselves. I mean, people are probably going to be more likely to buy a safer vehicle than a less safe vehicle, especially if the company is going to start marketing. Look, our vehicle is X% safer than competing vehicles, both for people inside and outside the vehicle. That could be a selling point instead of being something that's made mandatory with standards set so high that they're almost impossible to achieve.
Take
But
Tesla.
but there are certain cases. Do you know the concept of external costs?
It rings a bell, but remind me, please.
Imagine you're producing. Imagine you're
It
producing
does.
coal. You're producing power in coal-fired plants.
Mm-hmm.
Your direct costs are things like the maintenance of your facility, the coal you use, the maintenance of the power lines, shit like that, what you pay your workers and shit like that. But there are indirect costs to your activities, such as in the fact that you're releasing certain pollutants and things like that. And that imposes costs on people in the environment. For instance, they'll have to get their cars and their houses painted more often. They'll accrue certain medical bills potentially that they otherwise would not have accrued and stuff like that. And since those costs are external for the company, for the people that are actually undergoing this transaction, those costs often or can easily get ignored. And in those cases, one of the potentially useful functions of government is to create systems where those external costs are made, where basically people are forced to take those external costs into account up to a certain degree. For instance, by regulating the maximum amounts of output of certain pollutants and chemicals and such. And as long as those standards are set reasonably, then that's not necessarily a problem. It's
That is
actually
true.
a net benefit to society.
That is true. However, the way I see this example in particular, I am very skeptical of the quality of the regulations they are going to make about the cars. And the example that I have in
most
my
definitely.
mind is Tesla. If Tesla didn't operate in an environment where they are free to innovate, if they operated in an environment which strictly controlled what type of car can drive around on the streets, to create the self-driving that they are creating, that if we adopt them as the only cars running around, they will significantly reduce accidents. I prefer an economy, a market, which allows for revolutionary and frankly crazy shit like self-driving cars to be made and to reduce accidents that way, as accidents have been decreasing in the last years because we've made cars better, we've made cars safer, we've made cars bendier,
Yes,
and
but
so on.
in a
I
lot
prefer
of
that.
cases, governments who have created these regulations take the credit for this, while it is impossible to prove that those things are because of their regulations and that the market wouldn't have provided these things in and of themselves. Would have to do some further research into that specifically to be able to give you exact numbers on those things. But the thing is, there is a bit of a misnomer when people. I mean, do you have any idea how much money? And in this case, I'm talking about citizens' money, as in taxpayer money. How much money that's been taxed from the citizens has been pumped globally into research into lithium battery cell technology and solar panels.
I
It's
suppose it's a lot.
untold trillions of dollars since the fucking 70s. People have been throwing money at this technology since the fucking 70s.
And I would argue it's not the best idea to do that, by the way. I don't think state research is a good idea. I think companies should do it. And I can actually argue that. I believe that if a company needs, say,
I'm not asking you
technology
to
for
argue it.
generating electricity. Oh, so then, sorry. You stayed silent for a moment, so I said, hey, I'll go ahead. I prefer
Some people
decentralized things
try
like
to
that.
collect their thoughts before they start speaking, because otherwise I have a
Spanish.
tendency to waffle on even worse than I already do, and it's already pretty bad.
Of course, waffle on. He's Belgian, huh?
Wait,
Anyway,
should I
continue,
just should I go over to the requirements for all motor vehicles?
Yeah. You do
Oh,
what you
we
want,
actually
Rembo.
have them?
Under the new rules, all motor vehicles, including trucks, buses, vans, and sport utility vehicles, will have to be equipped with the following safety measures: intelligent speed assistance, ergo, intelligent speed limiters. In other words, I mean, they call it speed assistance, but that's once again just a linguistic little trick.
Yes.
Alcohol interlock installation facilitation. So make it easier, or make it easy, make sure that there's like a standard slot for an alcohol interlock installation. Now we get into the good stuff. Driver drowsiness and attention warning systems, and advanced driver distraction warning systems. Cameras watching your face with facial recognition software, monitoring your mental states.
Okay, so cars are going to be unaffordable because that shit's expensive. That's main battle tank levels of technology in my car. I'm not going to be able to ever afford a car.
Emergency
Yay.
stop signals, reversing detection systems, accurate tire pressure monitoring, but the thing I skipped over here a little bit
And it's
because
gonna
it
make
bears going
everybody
into
fucking re.
event data recorders.
They're gonna black box your car.
And whenever people talk about these black boxes or data recorders, they always say, "Oh yeah, but it only saves information a couple of seconds before an accident," and that in and of itself means it's constantly recording. It has to constantly be recording, and the
And
amounts
that
of data
information
that
is never going to be used by companies to sell
Ever.
me shit. Of course not.
the
Never.
amounts of data that come out of that would come out of a system like that really aren't of that order that you couldn't store months of it on like a thumbnail sized fucking chip.
Mm.
Most of these fucking cars have Wi-Fi controllers in them these days, and can well directly through Bluetooth and shit connect to your fucking cell phone.
You know
Then
what
again,
feeling this shit gives me? You in general. Do you know when you go bowling and you're a kid, so you ask for these little fences to be raised on both sides of the bowling lane, so your ball doesn't go to these the pits, the gutter. Yes, that's the EU. But not only that, it's that you arrive to the bowler and you say, "Hey, I want to go bowling." And they say, "Okay, it's 10 euros for the bowling, plus 10 extra euros for the fences." "Oh, but I don't want the fences." "No, you have to use the fences, just in case you have accidents, just in case you use your independence to not bowl correctly. So we're going to tax you for the fences, which you have to use fully." "No, but I want to bowl the way I want." "No, you can't, because Brussels says you can't." What if I have a
Quit
farm and I want
saying
to go
Brussels as if it's the city and the occupants' fault.
Well, Juncker says not anymore. It's going to he's going out. Whoever is in charge says. "No, what if I have a farm and I want to go at 300 miles an hour in my farm? I can't, because my car won't do it."
So, there will be some supplementary advanced safety measures that will be required for cars and vans. Also, these will be advanced emergency braking systems, emergency lane keeping systems. Consider that an emergency lane keeping system. That can mean very little other than something that takes control away from you in a traffic situation.
They are describing a train. They're basically describing a train, or a tram,
Yeah.
rather. Just instead of having physical
They're
rails, it's
like, to me, like, I get
Yeah.
this feeling that they're trying to regulate cars out of existence, basically.
The car as the individual mode of transport and the symbol of freedom. I go where I want. You can't fucking stop me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
it's the
definitely.
spirit of Brussels. Like, Article 13 is not about protecting creators. It's about
The spirit of Brussels.
Sorry.
Thank you very
The
much.
spirit of the EU. Sorry, man. Sorry. It's
Yeah,
just
I know,
very
I know. But the thing is,
Brussels.
Brussels is filled with pissed off people like me.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
This is an official announcement
We're
of
like,
the
that's
Spanish
not Brussels,
LA.
you motherfucker.
This is an official announcement of the Spanish Liberalist Organization. We do not hate Brusselians.
I know. But I last time we were in Brussels together, we were in European quarters, and there was nothing but EU flags hanging everywhere, up to the point where we're probably both still very much traumatized.
Yes, I am. But
One
what I
European
was saying
government.
is that
Didn't you guys realize that?
Sorry?
One European government. Didn't you guys realize that yet?
Well,
Get
There's
on
one
board,
thing.
pieces of
There's a
shit.
difference between knowing and having it smashed into your face like that.
1776
anyway.
will rise again in
Yep.
multiple countries all over Europe.
Throw the fucking tea in the harbor.
The thing I was saying is that the spirit of the EU, whenever it makes a law, it's always, no, we're making Article 13 to protect creators. It's not to protect creators, is it? It's to strangle dissent online, because you know that the YouTubers are kicking your faces in, and you want your friends in the big newspapers to be the only people. So this thing with the cars, it's not about reducing deaths in the road. It's about something else, and it might be, let's take people's liberty to go wherever the fuck they want away from them, because maybe they have anti-EU ideas where they go to have their road trips.
You know,
Who knows?
Sergio, there are two things that I can that can tell you where this is going, and they're both further on in this article. Just real
have a
quick.
question.
Go ahead.
What if an ambulance shows up? At least in Spain, when an ambulance wants to pass through, you go out of the road, you go out of the lane to let the ambulance through. If I am going to have advanced lane keeping systems, what does the ambulance do?
Well,
What if
maybe
instead
a
of
lane will be
making
locked
this,
out so nobody can move onto the lane.
what if instead of making
Those are
everything
all
so
technical
rigid,
questions that aren't really up to. I mean, don't you can point out the flaws in the tech. I mean, that's a technical question.
yeah, but it's a technical question that is in the spirit of, why do we want everything so rigid instead of making cars these you get what I'm trying to say. That word.
Maneuverable.
Could I give you the hint again of the questions you want answered or can be answered further on in this document?
Oh, then go on, please.
Yes. So, real quick, in the addition to general requirements in existing systems, trucks and buses shall have to be equipped with advanced systems capable of detecting pedestrians and cyclists located in close proximity and significantly reducing blind spots around the vehicle. More generally, the regulation enables the Commission to update the above-mentioned technical specifications to take account of future technical developments. This is what we call a blank check.
We can make the law whatever we want the law to be made. Because we gave ourselves the power to do it.
Yay! That was point number one. So, another sidetrack here, next steps. Following the usual scrutiny by a lawyer linguist, the agreed text will be formally adopted by the European Parliament and Council shortly. September, shortly, yeah. It shall enter into force 20 days after its publication in the official journal of the EU and will start applying 30 months from its entry into force. A longer application date is provided for a limited number of features in order to allow the manufacturers to adapt their production to the new requirements. Background. Deregulation is part of the Commission's third Europe on the Move package, launched in May 2018. The package aimed to ensure a smooth transition towards a mobility system which is safe, clean, and automated.
Unregulated.
Automated. If
How do you automate a travel system to rural areas?
That's a great question.
That's what I was talking about before. Generally, everything in every aspect of life, it's always better to have a system that just gives you a tool and lets you use it in whatever way you need it than having something extremely automated and rigid. It's always better to have a screwdriver than a machine that can screw screws horizontally, because a screwdriver is the most versatile thing ever. I don't know if I'm getting my opinion across.
I
Why
posted
do you want? Oh,
another PDF.
okay.
If you could open that real quick
Yeah, sure.
to finish this off, damnation.
Yeah, what's up? Sorry.
Oh, a propaganda document.
Oh, the document? Yeah, here we
The
go.
European Union, on average, has 49 fatalities per million inhabitants, while the global average is 174. It's less than a third of the global average. They have a Vision Zero, and if we scroll down to the second page, under the header Saving Lives with Safer Vehicles and Safer Roads, you can see that according to their statistics, 90% of crashes are linked to human error. They would like to reduce that to 0%. They want to, at the bottom of this document, pave the way for safe and efficient driverless mobility, with safety at its core.
Safety of who?
Drivers, I would think.
The European Union.
Also.
I mean, this entire institution is ran by ideologues, just like United Nations. Flawed ideological concepts are enshrined into the very founding documents of these institutions.
Holy shit, man!
This
Just the hubris of an organization who one day they get up and then say, "Hey, let's end human suffering through regulation." Yes, let's do that. It's never gone bad in history. It's definitely a thing that we can do from our seats in this ivory tower of a place that we have in Strasbourg and in Brussels and in Luxembourg. See, I said in.
There we go.
This is the problem that arises every time a central authority gets itself into power and decides arbitrarily that it is going to mandate problems out of existence for other people. Let the people figure out what they want. Don't tell them what they want.
See, in the name of the public good,
To
you
prevent
can't allow
harm.
people to make certain
To
decisions.
prevent harm.
Yep. That's in one sense, and in another sense, for instance, here in Belgium, an argument that was used to tax sugary products extra, and the same when they when they taxed alcohol extra and shit like that, is the argument that, well, we have universal health care, so people that impact the system more by their unhealthy lifestyle should pay into the system more by taxing these products extra, without even the most basic fucking conception of what the economical consequences of this will be.
And the common good. Is there a bigger serial killer in history than the common good?
Don't
The
think so.
greater good.
The greater, the common, the public good. If you took all of the deaths in history and wrote down the cause, the greatest list, the number one would definitely no, for the common good, for safety, for progress. Oh my god. How will people die with this one? I have no idea, but probably someone will die. The EU is incompetent. Even if this was a good idea, it's incompetent. This week they proved it with Article 13. We're going to protect the creators. How? By strangling them.
They want to make systems that pull over your car when you seem distracted. Mandatory.
Nice. What if there's a cow on the side of the road? Are you going to automate cows as well? Are you going to make smart self-driving cows? There are usually cows on the side of the road in Spain, especially in my region. Cows,
Right.
horses, wild pigs, boars. Boars is the name. Lots of boars. Readers. Automated EU boars. That's the solution.
Automated EU boars. Okay.
Yes, Matt, in order for a regulated society to work, everything has to be regulated, even the boars.
Even the boars.
I insist on the bleach. Or
Right.
vote well in the next elections, people. Vote well. Or do not vote at all. Maybe they will get the message. Or maybe just vote for the craziest person ever. Just let's fill the EU Parliament with Janusz Korwin-Mikke people. Just make it absolutely unusable because everyone is screaming about weird shit like that Polish MEP that I mentioned. Yes, that's the solution. Make it absolutely unworkable. Elections coming up, man.
See, when I read shit like this from the EU, I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like,
Good question.
paving the way for safe and efficient driverless mobility. Ugh.
They're trying to blow it all up.
Right?
Safe and efficient.
Mm-hmm.
You could use that expression for so many.
No, not efficient.
Well,
Just
they say
safe,
and
perhaps even sustainable.
Mm.
God.
You could use that for all these things. Oh my! You could say no. We are banning elections. We are banning
Circular
elections.
economy, sustainability, automated mobility, addressing income inequality within and among nations or member states.
Oh, stay tuned for that video when we finally get that one put out, because that's gonna be.
I cut off for a second. Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I
It's
can.
done.
I cut off for a second for some reason.
Yeah.
I was hearing Rembo like very roboty, but I was saying that safety regulations and that you could argue so many things with that principle. You could say elections are dangerous. If you have elections every year or every 4 years, a fascist or a quote unquote fascist might get elected. Let's ban elections and make elections automated. A computer elects the best candidate.
It's more than that. I mean,
Of course.
that riles up all kinds of public sentiment, and that might, cause more division within society. Can't have that.
Man, safety.
You're
Let's
making
install
me want to
cameras in people's
exercise
houses.
some safety on
Safety.
the European Union right about now.
I really hope it collapses as quickly as possible.
I
They
really
want-
hope Spain has a plan for when that happens, because we've got all of our eggs in the EU basket and we don't realize it's falling down.
They
I
want
mean,
to.
Salvini keeps claiming he has a plan to switch back to the lira, from the euro to the lira, in like a week. Meanwhile, all or almost all of our parties are like, we need more EU, more powers to the EU. Yes, it's going perfectly. Wow, EU, yes. All of our eggs in the basket. Changing back to the peseta? Nah, that's never going to need to happen. Please send help.